Okay, we have a question from Neil, and I like what he says right away. I know you try to stay away from medical advice, so I hope this isn't veering too far into that territory. I have had an issue for several years, and it mostly happens in my martial arts classes, where my knee seems to pop out of the socket. It seems like something shifts, and I am unable to move it for several moments while I wait for it to shift back into position. Okay, with knees over toes being the rage a couple of months ago, I wonder what movements do you recommend for strengthening the knee tendon and that sort of thing? Have you any experience with knee strengthening or rehab exercises in your own career or your athletes? Now, I don't want to talk specifically about this knee popping thing, but I would really get that looked at. I haven't heard of athletes getting this. I've never seen this, but I've heard of it. In fact, very famously in Ted Lasso, Roy Kent does it, which is kind of funny. He makes that terrible sound. This is interesting because the question comes at a good time, because I was just talking to one of my old buddies when we were doing discus camp together. This is over 20 years ago. And we came up with this idea of doing farmer walks uphill. And when we did farmer walks uphill, we noticed the next day that it was, I got to tell you folks, doing farmer walks uphill might be one of the most underrated butt exercises the world has seen. Doing heavy farmer walks up a hill is a terribly hard workout. It's a combination of step ups and squats and everything else and farmer walks. And then one day we decided to one up each other and walk backwards up the hills farmer walking. And that's when the bell rang. There are some exercises that help the knee. Now, when I was young, leg extensions were the answer to all knee questions. And then we found out, someone told us, everything in my field is bad, by the way. Every food item is bad, every exercise is bad, everything is bad, 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 because that's the way the fitness industry works. Everything is bad, and you should do what I say instead. Okay, I'm rambling. But what we picked up on was that terrible burn you get when you do high rep leg extensions. We were getting that terrible burn, on the horseshoe muscles around your knee. We were getting that massive on fire burn. During camp that year, we had a bunch of girls that we experimented with this, and most good female discus throwers probably played basketball and or volleyball too. So they all complain about their knees a lot. And when we had them do this, the response universally was like, oh, wow, that feels good. They were getting the benefits of the leg extension without the problems of the leg extension. Now, I know it doesn't seem like much. Now, if you don't have a hill you can walk up backwards, and I'm not recommending steps because I don't think that would be safe, but you could put a smallish box, and it might not work perfect, but you could just step up, step down, step up, step down, and maybe up. I'm facing this way, so my knee so I have to step back with my foot. It might not be perfect. You might have to experiment with it. And I would stick, if you're doing it that method, I would stick on one side for a bunch of reps and go to the other side for a bunch of reps. And also too, don't let the box is not 10 feet. The box is, you could probably stack a couple mats. It doesn't have to be very big at first. And then maybe you want to go a little higher. If you really want to test it, just walk backwards with weights up a hill, and you'll see that you have what we used to call in football choppy steps. Chop, chop, chop. They're not big, exaggerated steps, because you just can't do it. But backwards walking up a hill is magnificent. Now, when we do our rucking, when we do our heavy hands, almost all of us turn around and do some walking backwards. I have a program, a part of my training is something I call the Great Eight. It's got a great name, but it's not much. So what I do, now my athletes call them skippity slappities, which I think is hilarious, but it's high knee skipping where my right hand hits my left knee, my left hand hits my right knee. I go about 40 meters, skippity slappity, rest a lot longer as I age. rest, and then I backpedal coming back. The backpedaling and the walking backward up hills is pretty good knee love. It's pretty good. Is it perfect? Yeah, I don't know. But I will say this, I'm 67. I'm still Olympic lifting. I'm still doing lots of front squats and squat cleans and squat snatches. That little dose, really, the grade 8, really does some great things, I think, for my overall lower body health. So just 2 ideas: farmer walks backward up hills and backpedaling as best you can. Thank you. That's a good question.